So thank you all for coming tonight. I'm going to be talking about the exhibition proposal series and everything that is required for applying for this important program that we have. And just to clarify anything and answer any questions that you have, I've prepared some resources for you that I'm going to be sharing tonight. And I'm also going to show you a little bit around our member portal, so that you'll be able to find all of the resources that I share at any time at your leisure. And just keep in mind that the deadline for applying is December 16th. So if you do have any further questions after everything that we cover tonight, or if for some reason you're not able to, if we run out of time, you're not able to ask me the question, you can totally send me an email and reach out to me outside of this as well. And so just to explain, what is the exhibition proposal series? So this is your chance to curate your own show. And that means you can pick the artists that you want to work with, as long as they are NHAA members. And you can pick what gallery space you want it to be in. I try to accommodate your requests as much as I can, but it is a competitive opportunity and it is a curated opportunity. So as a member, you are entitled to submit your proposal, but it doesn't guarantee that everyone will be selected for this series. But this is your one time to apply for the exhibition proposal series. We do it once a year. Usually it's always this time of year. And then we put together a whole exhibition calendar based on your submissions, plus all of our member and group shows, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and bring up some resources to share with you. This is a presentation that I put together for another thing that it has some really valuable information in it, which is about getting your materials ready. And so at this point, since everyone has been juried in, and I see a lot of new members here, which is wonderful, you already know the basics of an artist statement because you submitted one, and you already have a lot of this stuff down just to get through the jurying process. But I'd be happy to elaborate on some of these things, and this presentation will be shared to our member on the member portal, so that you can access these links and review these resources whenever you need to. One thing about, the base of what our application looks like, maybe I should start there, is this application right here, which is on our member portal. It's a simple survey form, and most of it is just asking you details on what do you actually want to do in the gallery? What is the theme of your show? How many pieces are you going to exhibit? How much space do you need? All of those big questions are what you're going to be answering in your proposal. And you can see here, there's some specific questions like, how much space do you need? Do you want one wall or a full gallery rental? Or you could check, I can scale my project to fit either. That gives me flexibility, so I can fit you in but it's always nice to know what your first choice is as well. And this is really simple form. I prefer if you can use a PDF, but it will also accept a .doc or .docs file. And you just choose your file and you upload it. It's a pretty simple process in terms of the technology. And I'm looking for 2 sample images. If you're doing a group show where you're going to have more than 2 artists, then if you could email me additional photos, that would be great. And I will also reach out to you if you have any missing information or if I need more clarification about your materials. I also have provided this map of the gallery so you can take a look at the floor plan and select, you know, what gallery works the best for you. You can see clearly from this that the East Gallery has the most space, and it also includes the front window. So it's really important, and we've even included this line here. If you want to rent the East Gallery, please include a plan for the window in your proposal. So that's really an important part, because people walking down the street are going to, their first introduction to the NHAA is going to be what you put in the East Gallery window. The main gallery window is right here, and it's much smaller. So it's definitely keep that in mind. And we found that the South Gallery works really well for installation type work. We've had several installations, and you have a lot of wall space here and a lot of like nooks and crannies. It feels like a kind of its own little room. The Fraser Gallery, I want to say the scale on this, whoever created this original graphic, it's actually larger than the South Gallery. And if you have very large work, especially two-dimensional work, then walls G and I are really great for, you know, sort of more linear work if you're, depending on what you're working on. And wall H is if you're looking either for body of work show, so that's one wall, or the full gallery. This for Fraser, this is a really important wall to think about, so that you can have maybe your strongest piece would be hanging on that wall there. I'm also like, we've really opened up this artist curated project so that if you have an idea for using East and South, please send me your idea. If you have an idea for South and Fraser, or maybe even renting this entire side of the gallery, I'm definitely open to reading a proposal about that. This form is formatted more for people who are going to be submitting for just one gallery or one wall, but that doesn't mean that you can't push the boundaries, or, you know, maybe you've, you know, the glass cabinet that's in our main gallery, maybe your work is really small and intimate, and that space would really work for you. I'm really open to you guys using your creativity and telling me, you know, what your idea is, and hopefully we can work together and make it happen. Even hanging artwork in the bathroom, we don't have a pricing structure for some of those options, but if there's a need, I will absolutely create that for you. Typically we hang all of our main group shows and juried shows in the main front gallery and main rear gallery. But if your work is, you know, we can always switch things around and have our member show on the other side if you have a strong desire for the main gallery. So keep that in mind as well. Here we have a little bit of a price chart. One thing to note about the price chart is that it doesn't include the cost of your signage or any vinyl. So if you wanted to rent East Gallery, but you also wanted to have some really elaborate wall vinyl that would be in the window or something like that, your signage and your printing costs are your own. So that's definitely something to consider when you're thinking about your overall budget for these shows. And in order to make it easy for me to figure out what work looks good next to everyone else and really create these curated and thoughtful combinations, I'm only looking for when you're unavailable. And this gives me the most amount of flexibility. So if you know that you're going to be, you know, traveling the month of February, then you would say unavailable in February. But if you're going to be here and you're going to be around, then please, you know, give me more flexibility. It'll increase your chances of being selected. One thing to note about that is if your work is already created, then you would be a candidate for the beginning of the year. Whereas if your work is not completed yet, then that's something that you would include in your proposal when we talk about the timeline, the project timeline. And then the last question on here is, are you planning to apply for funding from the D. Pratt Framer Artist Opportunity Fund? So I'm really excited to be able to offer this for the first time in 2023. And this, if you, all artists are invited to apply if you'd like. And it is being sponsored by D. Pratt Framer, which is a framing store. They have 2 locations, one in Kittery and one in Bry. And all you have to do is basically write a letter explaining how this exhibition will impact your art career, and also give us some general information about your financial situation. It doesn't have to be like, we don't want any numbers or tax documents, but just some general information. And that is pretty much it. So the key parts here are images and, of course, the proposal, which is what I'm going to be focusing most on tonight. But I'm also happy to pause here and take a moment to answer any questions that might have jumped up right in the beginning. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask?
I guess, Amanda, this is Bruce. I have one question, I guess. The Lassonde show or presentation, I'm not sure how to say that, came up somewhere along the way, and I guess that was an April show. How?
Yes. So
do we have any ability to request certain of these venues, or are they all the same, or are some of them different than others?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the Lassonde is a juried exhibition that is part of the NHA tradition. So we've put it on, I think this year is going to be something like it's definitely in the 30s, maybe the 38th year that we've done it. And it's a competitive opportunity. So every artist, and it's open juried, so non-members are allowed to apply, can submit up to 3 pieces for the juror to look at, to be selected for the exhibition. So that's a little bit different than what we're talking about tonight. That happens in April on the main gallery side of things. This is really for solo shows and wall rentals and artist curated project exhibitions. But what you had said about venues is really important, because most of what we're talking about tonight is at our Portsmouth location. But we also have opportunities at LaBelle Winery in Derry, the Concord Chamber of Commerce, the Art Center in Dover, and I'm always looking to expand and provide more opportunities for all of our members. So for now, I'm really focused on Portsmouth, but if you have a specific question about LaBelle, Concord, Derry, Manchester, all of that, I'd be happy to provide some information on that as well. All right. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And I wanted to bring up this, I shared this in my email, but this is really, this is a sample proposal that I've wrote up for all of you. And I know that it seems kind of, I don't know, maybe a little silly, but even things like writing, like right here at the top, like having the title of your exhibition, including your name at the top of the page, writing, you know, like East Gallery proposal up here, or whatever gallery you want to have. Those things are really helpful for me, but also my goal with this is that what I'm teaching you here will help you to write proposals for other art organizations, for other opportunities, whether it's an artist residency, a public art project, a proposal at a regional museum. This is really the key to being a successful artist, is knowing how to be clear, be compelling, and sell yourself. So yes, you know me, and I'm giving you this, you know, this talk tonight, and I will be one of the people who's reviewing your proposal. But also think about this as a challenge. Don't ever think, oh, Amanda knows me, she's going to know what I want. No, 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 no. This is your chance to really to practice. So, you know, if you wrote an artist statement, and maybe you have an artist statement up on your website, or maybe you sent in a statement to apply to become a juried member recently. When was the last time you looked at that? When was the last time you updated it? Is it specific to this body of work that you want to show at the NHAA in 2023? This should be your most up-to-date, your most specific artist statement. So, you know, maybe you're a multidisciplinary artist like I am, and you have multiple bodies of work, but the one that you want to show is, you know, I'm just going to use my work as an example because it's easiest for me to talk about. Maybe you want to show your goddess series. And for that, maybe your artist statement is a little bit more specific than when you're talking about yourself as an artist in general. So everything for this proposal should be specific to the work that you want to show. And, you know, part of what I'm trying to say here is don't take it for granted that you're going to be accepted because you've had a conversation with me or you've explained it to me in person, but you struggle with the writing aspect of it. And also, you know, it's really worth it to put the time in to make sure that all of your materials are up to date and really talking about the work that you're creating right now. These are 2 links here to various articles about writing an artist statement if you struggle with this. I'm just going to flip back to my presentation here. Some of the basics that I like to kind of help guide you on this journey of writing an artist statement is you want to be descriptive of your work. You'd want it to be in that sweet spot of not too long, not too short. So I would say a solid paragraph. You want to address the what, why, and how of your work. How are you creating your work? Why are you creating your work? What is your work? So an example of that would be, you know, Amanda Kidd Kessler is a ceramic artist. That answers the you know, the what. You know, who makes work about the divine feminine in order to, you know, I'm just kind of riffing here, but you get the idea of how specific it is and how concise it is, but you don't want it to be, you want to avoid over intellectualizing your work, saying, you know, kind of going too wide, too deep, like over analyzing it, where if someone who doesn't know you and is unfamiliar with your work would be reading it, where it's almost too abstract, they don't understand what you're saying. At the same time, you don't want it to be too general. And you don't want to say, you don't want it to be not connected. Make sure, sometimes as artists, this is something that I struggle with a lot. I think this would be my weakest link of writing an artist statement, is I get so excited about like what my internal dialogue is and what my personal ideas of what my work is about are, that I don't take a minute to sit in a room with my work and look at it and be able to say, oh, you know, I might want to write this, or maybe this sounds really good, or I really like these adjectives, but it doesn't describe what I'm actually looking at. And it's not truly descriptive of what my work is. So you want to avoid that. And then I also have tips for getting started. And this is one of the great things about being a member of the NHAA is that, you know, we have a whole member directory. We represent over 330 artists. I would love to connect you with another artist who's interested in writing an artist statement and pair you up so that you can ask each other questions and describe your work, you know, have them describe your work so that you guys can make it just a little bit, you know, make a new connection, make a new art friend, and then also have an outside perspective. And also another key thing is really thinking about what the most important concepts you want your audience to know. That's the bottom line. When someone's reading your artist statement, what do you want them to walk away from? Another tip is to record yourself talking to a friend or fellow artist about your work. Sometimes when you're put on the spot like that, the ideas just kind of flow. Whereas when you're sitting down at your computer looking at a blank Word document, you get a little bit tighter. So that's another tip, just to kind of break through that writer's block and get you started. The links that I provided, like this one, are really comprehensive. It's really wonderful to just like read through this. It gives you a lot of different ideas on the brainstorming phase, artist statement basics. It really outlines what, why, how, red flags, bad practices, and other traps to avoid. This one I think is really great. The International Art English. And yeah, so definitely take advantage of these resources. I also have, I believe, in this proposal, I think I might have some samples. Let's see. No, that's the same one. This is a slightly different approach, but they're all, you might find one article resonates with you more than the other, but this really helps, the difference between a statement versus a bio. I'm a big researcher. I love like gathering information and being like, oh, how do other people do this? And, so this kind of stuff helps me. If this doesn't help you, then, I just have the basics right here for you. Yeah, so any quick questions about the artist statement component of your proposal before I jump into the vision aspect? All right, awesome. I'm going to keep going then. Okay, so this is where you describe how you will present your work, what gallery, what wall you would like to rent, how many pieces you plan to have, what size they will be, how you will present them. So what do I mean by how you will present them? Are you a sculptor and are you going to build your own pedestals? Are you going to use gallery pedestals? Are you a painter and maybe you're working really small and you want to hang it really tight and close, like a salon style, like floor to ceiling? Maybe you are very like contemporary and cutting edge and you want your work to have a lot of space in between it. So even though you're looking for, one wall to rent, you plan on only showing one large piece. Maybe you want, those are the type of questions and the type of, the vision of how your work is going to come together in the gallery is what I'm looking for there. We recently had an exhibition that just came down on Sunday called Buried in Trash. So part of that proposal was the artist wrote about how they were going to provide a lot of signage and information because it was an information art exhibit where the work was made from single-use plastic and it was talking about environmental issues. So that was a big component of the vision for the gallery. Those are the kind of details that I'm looking for. So, don't assume that I'm going to know your work or that I'm going to know how you hang things or that I can, peek inside your head and see what you see. You have to explain it. So this is a really key part to the proposal. Also, if you feel like maybe writing isn't the best format for you, but you're really into drafting, then it's totally okay to, take some of the, and I'll walk you through, take some of the floor plans and show me a wall layout. You can say, my vision for the gallery is to hang it something similar to this attached drawing or this attached floor plan. That works great. And if that is a more comfortable way for you to communicate that information, that's totally fine. And then the last aspect is the timeline. So this is where you you say, hey, the work's created, it's ready to go. Or, you know, it's not ready, but I just signed up for this great class that's really going to help me create this work and strengthen, you know, my technique. Really anything, anything that you want to add to your timeline. The most important thing is the work created, or are you in the process of creating it? And if you sign up, if you say you have a really big, ambitious project that you want to show, I would like to see some solid evidence that I can be confident in you completing the project. Because imagine, you know, putting all of this effort into curating all of these exhibits, and then have the artist not be able to exhibit their work, you know, and maybe I don't get the notice that I need to be able to fill that spot. So it's, you know, to honor you and this commitment, but it's also to ensure that, you know, you have a plan for getting the work done. And sometimes it happens, you know, sometimes there's a family emergency, or, you know, some major life changes happen, and that's totally understandable. But if that does happen after you are accepted as part of the exhibition proposal series, please give me as much notice as possible, because this is all going to be solidified in January. And everyone who's accepted is going to be asked to pay for their rental in January. So I will need to know if that changes. Okay, so that is the basics of the proposal. Let's see. I think that's most of what I wanted to pull from this presentation. I want to walk you through the member portal. So most of you know usually it comes up with a white screen with a little password block and an arrow. You're going to type in "I love art," all lowercase with no spaces, which is going to take you to this page here. And you can click on right here, this button under the exhibition proposal series, and this is going to take you to the application. Now back onto the member portal, we have planning for your exhibit, presentation and framing guidelines. This is really great just to take a look at in general. We include this in all of our prospectuses, our calls for art. But this would be, you know, just like a nice thing to familiarize yourself with, especially when you're planning an exhibition. And I'm going to let you, you know, review that on your own time, because we don't have a ton of time this evening. We also have our video and slideshow resource library. So if you're planning on doing works on paper and you're like, wow, I really need to, I'm gonna have to frame all these pieces, and that's a huge undertaking. Where do I start with that? We have a whole video right here on called Framing 101. And I also have this slideshow that you can see going over some of the basics, but really watching the video, I put a lot of effort into it, and I am a master certified picture framer. This is my certificate right here. So you can get an idea of some of the resources in here. We also have a video on how to have a successful solo exhibition. And this talks a lot about marketing yourself on social media, what type of promotional materials, like printed materials, to have in your like rack cards, postcards, business cards, that kind of stuff. We also talk about the window and how you want to have a really dynamic and exciting presentation outside of the, you know, in the window space of the East Gallery. And then down here, we have our full gallery floor plan with dimensions. So that graphic that I showed you where I said that Fraser and South, you know, looked a little similar, you can click on these links and get all of the measurements. So this will give you a much better idea of how to use the space. And this is something where if you have like design experience, you could even download this, maybe upload these measurements into your own, you know, drawing or design program, and be able to lay out your show to give an idea of how you would want your exhibition to come together. This is the same type of thing for East Gallery. I will tell you that, a lot of these things were created several years ago. And so things have changed slightly, maybe in just like the position of movable walls, or, there are pipes in the air conditioner, but we usually do have a cover for that so that, those types of intricacies we can figure out closer to when the exhibition actually happens. But it's nice to have a really, general idea. You can't hang anything on the emergency exit, so that's something to consider. And then this is the Fraser Gallery. So you can see it's really more, it's a long and narrow space. But the 20-foot walls, it can really create a very immersive exhibition because of how narrow it is. So use that to your advantage and definitely think about that as you're designing your exhibition. Yeah, so I think I covered most of what I was planning on talking about, but I can go into more detail about really anything that I've spoken about tonight, and I'm here for the Q&A. Cheryl, you're on mute.
Yeah, she's muted.
Question, if you're planning on submitting applications as a collaboration, is each participant supposed to fill out the online application and create their own statement and then do a joint statement to submit with that, or how is that handled?
That's a great question. So for a collaboration, I really want to see the 2 artists or 3 artists or 5 artists coming together and explaining that dynamic and how like what your vision is, what your plan is. So for example, if you want to be a curator and you have come to a bunch of member shows and you have 5 artists' work that you are just in love with, and you think that you want to curate a show with those 5 artists, that's a very different proposal where, that would require you to, maybe it's not about your work, but it's about the curation process with these 5 other artists. Explain that as part of your proposal. How is that going to work together? Who are the artists? Have they already committed? I want to make it if you want to include anyone else in your proposal, you need to have their permission and they have to be on board with it in order to submit your proposal. If you want to have a collaboration with one other artist and you're sharing the gallery and, one of you is a painter and the other one's a sculptor, that's, I would like to see you guys both talk about how the work's going to be displayed, how the work complements each other, why you want to work together. Is it going to be a stronger exhibition because of this partnership? Those are the types of things that you like, the types of questions and answers that you can put in your proposal.
And is it one application with its
one application.
Okay.
Joint. So you could say, like, for example, I know a little bit about you guys and we had a meeting in the gallery, so I can, say sea creatures and the environment and the ocean are all themes in your work. So Cheryl, your artist statement might be, Cheryl is a oil painter or an acrylic paint, works in acrylic paint to create these, paint scenes of underwater scenes that, talk about the state of our climate, really it's whatever you want it to be. And then John, you would have a similar sentence where, John is a sculptor who, works in this medium and, makes work that looks like this, that's talking about that. And together, these 2 artists are creating an exhibition that would be titled, blah, blah, blah. And, it's going to be hung with, 2D work on the wall, 3D work on pedestals, this, that, and the other thing. The signage is going to look like this. So it would be really a melding of, it'd be a collaboration. And then for the images, there's a slot to upload 2 images. So you'd each upload an image. But if you're doing a collaboration with 3, 4, 5 artists, upload 2 images, 1 from each artist, and then I will send me an email with the other ones that say, you know, the title of your exhibition, the artist names, everything. So I want to see consistency. So don't call your show, you know, Midnights and then change it to, you know, Evermore. I want to see like all the same. I want to see all the same labeling on there so that I can associate the images with the correct proposal.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So-
Anyone else? Oh, Ian, you have your hand up. No? Okay, sorry, Michelle.
That's okay. So for the opening, besides paying for the particular space or wall that you want, for the opening, what is the gallery's responsibility and the artist's responsibility to pay for?
That is a great question. So typically we ask for we have like sort of like a potluck style. Artists bring anything that they would like to share. We recently have been setting up, because of the close space in South and Fraser, we don't like to put like food and beverage tables in those spaces. We prefer to keep most of like the refreshments in the main gallery. So
Okay.
we usually ask the artist to bring a bottle of wine, to bring, you know, a plate of cookies, a cheese plate, something like that to share. We also have cocktail tables, like high round cocktail tables that you can set up for the East Gallery. And we do have a very low table that is almost like a low pedestal that's that sometimes artists use either for refreshments or to set up as like merchandising their work.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sorry, and I'm just trying to, and do we take care of announcements and?
So we help you write your press release. So
Okay.
we will, we write your press release with your input, and it's kind of, you know, a lot of give and take. We have some artists who are like, handle all of this. And we're like, okay, well, you have to give us some information. And that's where your proposal comes in, where we can draw some of what you've written in your proposal to be able to describe your show in the press release. But as
Okay.
it gets closer to your exhibition, I'm going to go back and share my screen to the member portal. We have some really great resources on this. Under planning your exhibit.
Okay, great, good, I'll look that
So
up.
this is, yeah, this is really detailed advertising and marketing, pricing and selling. I haven't, and this also has a little bit of a timeline.
Mhm.
So the 7 to 8 weeks prior, that's where we really start wanting to really think about your PR. And then, and the 6, you know, you can prepare your materials here so that at the 6-week mark, we have all of that information.
Okay.
So maybe you started out saying that you were going to be doing works on paper and framing them. And you were like, oh, you know what? I actually want to mount these on a cradled panel because that's more my, you know, fits stylistically. Those types of changes are totally fine. And that's why it's nice to prepare these types of materials so close to after the work is completed and you're preparing for, you know, getting your work out there. And we also will promote you on social media. We, you know, we're very successful at getting your press releases published in the Portsmouth Herald and the Foster's Daily Democrat and a lot of Seacoast focused exhibitions. So we're working to hopefully expand outside of the Seacoast with some of our publicity this year, but it never hurts to have more people on your team. So know that we are doing the base level for you, but it'll always make you more successful if you have your own email list of people that have bought your work before, that you are marketing to those people as well. If you have friends and family that would want to come out and see it, or maybe your hometown is actually in Maine and not New Hampshire, but you would like, maybe you want to talk to, you know, your more of your local paper to get your press release published there. But yeah, this is really helpful just to help you keep on track with a lot of those deadlines.
Great.
And we can print your labels for you and do that. I also always recommend that artists gallery sit,
Mhm.
because it's more time to have, you know, get in front of people to talk about your work and be in the gallery with your work. I mean, the month goes by so quickly that the more time that you can kind of plan to be in the gallery and spend time chatting with people about your work, the more meaningful connections you'll make and potentially more sales.
Great.
Another important thing that I've been working on as part of, you know, this presentation is really it kind of goes with pricing your work, but really knowing your target market. I think that a lot of artists really struggle with that. And if your work is very specific, really like think about, you know, for example, the plastic show that we just had, Buried in Trash. There was so much appeal to environmental groups, to climate change activists, to like the education aspect really tied into colleges who came to view the work. So thinking about who your target audience is, and, you know, even if you are, you know, like a landscape painter or, you know, something like that, like who's going to appreciate your work, and making sure that you're following those, you know, you're part of those Facebook groups, you're part of those Instagram channels, and that you're getting your work out there to people who are kind of primed and ready to be excited about your work. That's really the goal with finding your target audience. Any other questions?
Amanda, it's Bruce again. Some of this might be better served offline rather than keeping everybody, but I'm still a little confused about the December 16th deadline is for the proposal to do a single or group show throughout
Correct.
the course of the year. In addition to that, there will be other calls for art, i.e. the Lassonde, for example, because that's the only other name I know, throughout the year. So somebody who, like me, who's just getting started at this, that has a limited body of work, that seems to me I need to have a decision with myself as to where I go. Do I do a proposal, or do I wait for a more juried kind of situation, which intellectually I'm personally more interested in, you know? But again, we can do this offline if you think it's better suited.
Yeah, well, you know, I think, you know, to answer your question, you're kind of asking like, how do I know if I'm ready for an exhibition proposal series? And, you know, the answer to that question is, do you have a solid body of work? Do you have, you know, when you look at your body of work, your series, a solid series, do you see connections from one piece to the next, to the next, to the next? Do you have a conceptual string that links all of your work together? Do you have artistic goals that would benefit from you having an artist curated space where you are the one deciding, hey, these works are all going together? You know, those are the kind of questions that you're going to be asking that will lead to you formulating the ideas for your proposal and putting together those materials. So if you're coming to me and you're like, I don't know, then I'm going to say it's a lot of work. It's a big commitment. You're probably not ready. Like, the people who do really well with the exhibition proposal series, and I'm not trying to say this to dissuade anyone. I think it's great practice to just formally go through rewriting your artist statement, formulating a proposal, submitting it, seeing what happens. And it will help prepare you for other opportunities as well, but kind of knowing where you are as an artist. And what do I mean by that? Like, what previous experience do you have? Do you have a proven track record of exhibitions? Do you have an artist CV? Where have you exhibited before? You know, do you have a following who, when you look at all of the costs associated with an exhibition proposal series, not only the rental fees, but also the cost of framing, the cost of art materials, the promotional materials, the time invested, all of that. Is that what you want to do? Because it'll take up a chunk of your time for the year that you have to plan it, assuming that you get a November slot. Because if you get selected for June, you've only got a few months to get ready for that. So really, we're looking for artists who are ready for a solo exhibition or have work that is, you know, that this, or having something like this, like a show where the work isn't created yet, will really help motivate you to get the work done. Or maybe you have an artist residency set up. You know, North Country is going on this year in January for the first time in 2 years. Maybe you did another artist residency or had another, you know, recent trip or something that really inspired you to create a new body of work, and, you know, saying, hey, you know, I've got these images. I'm going to spend the next 6 months editing, fine tuning, creating a book. And, you know, I need that time to process all of this, but then, you know, come August, September, you know, or after that, I'll be ready to present this. You know, I'm looking for a solid idea, just because otherwise, you know, the success of this is what you put into it. And that's something that, you know, I can't stress enough. If you're depending on the NHAA to do everything for you and to like sort of hold your hand through the process, like that is what we're here for. And I love lending that type of support, but it should be like kind of on the final details because everything else is kind of gelling for you previously. Does that make sense?
I think so. I think so. And the answer, again, to be personal, yes, yes, yes to all of those questions. But at the same point, my body of work that I'm willing to show and excited about actually putting out there is finite. You know, so I wonder if I'm lucky enough to have 4 or 5 pieces of work in the proposal series, does that preclude me from putting 2 or 3 of those same pieces in another venue?
So we do have restrictions on, and you know, I guess I want to back up a second because this is one of many exhibition opportunities that we offer, right? So if you sign up, if you send in a proposal and it's not accepted, you will still be able to participate in all of our member exhibitions. And this year we're going to have probably 7 or 8 member exhibitions. You will be able to submit to all of our juried exhibitions. We're actually having 5 juried exhibitions this year. You're going to be sick of seeing me in your inbox because I'm going to be overloading you with opportunities and you will not be bored. I promise you that. If you do not do this, it'll give you more time to focus on the member exhibitions and creating and submitting your best work for these competitive juried shows. So that I want to clear out right now. Like, you will have plenty of opportunities to show your work throughout the year at the NHAA, even if you don't submit to this. This is only for one half of the gallery. You know, the other half is group shows that are open to either all members or all artists from New England on a juried competitive basis. So you will have exhibition opportunities in 2023, no matter what. But
thank you so much. I'm through.
but if you want to have an artist opportunity, an exhibition opportunity that is a solo show, that is a small group show. Those are different on your artist CV. You know, you have, you know, juried shows and member shows. They're a different level on a CV compared to a solo exhibition. And so one thing that I love to see and that I really encourage my artists to do, especially for new members, is when you're just starting out, you want to apply for every member exhibition you can, so you can start building out your artist CV. And once you've submitted to a year of exhibition opportunities at the NHAA, you're going to get into a little bit of a groove. Wow, the public really liked this piece. Wow, I started selling this body of work. I had so many great conversations at the opening about this piece that I didn't even think was any good, but hey, people liked it. That information is going to help you to steer your art, steer where you want to go with your art career, whether in the creation of your work or, these bigger opportunities that we're talking about. So I recommend starting out with member shows, juried shows. Juried shows, you want to reserve your very best work. We are continuing to get prestigious jurors from institutions like the Courier Museum of Art, and that, we're going to continue to offer those types of opportunities. And there's real prize money associated with that. And winning an award like the Lassonde or the Parafit or the Dunphy is a real feather in your cap as an artist. And that's something else that you want to put on your artist CV. And yeah, so I think maybe that helps a little bit more, but this is really like that next level after you've done the juried shows and you've done the member shows and you're ready to show all of your work, or, a large body of your work, or a completed idea of a series. That's what this is for. I can probably take one, maybe two more questions. Anything else anyone want clarity on? I can, since I've started to preview this slideshow with you, or this presentation, Advancing Your Art Career, part of my goal with the exhibition proposal series, like I've been saying, is that you'll be able to, kind of get to that next level. And once you learn how to write a proposal, it really will give you access to applying for artist residency programs, museum exhibitions, commission work grants, public art projects, and more. And, part of the reason why I selected these photographs of mine that are a little bit out there for this presentation is because I was awarded a grant to make that project. And, I hope that this will just get you to that next level. And I'm always happy to have conversations with all of my artist members about where you want to go, what your artistic goals are, and how through NHAA programs, whether education programs like this presentation or other things, I can help get you there. And kind of, Bruce, some of what you've been talking about is this slide, how to find the right opportunities for you. Where are you in the canon of contemporary art being made in New Hampshire or in New England right now? And part of what I really push for this is, be really realistic about who you are, and also know your local art scene. So if you're going to an NHAA opening and you see someone who was awarded the exhibition proposal series, like, wow, this work is really great. Hey, I've got enough work to fill this gallery. My work, if it might resonate with you and inspire you, then you're in the right place. I can't stress this enough about knowing your art scene. Art, it's so easy to create your work in a bubble. But part of what we do at the NHAA is connect artists with each other, so visit other galleries, attend events, introduce yourself, get to know the other players. When you look through the Art Around the Area newsletter that Carol puts together every month, I'll show you where it is on the website. If you go to this right here under exhibits and events, the Art Around the Area monthly newsletter, well, this is everything you need to know about November and beyond. You know, these shows have come down, some of them, but we post calls for art. We post just general exhibitions when their openings are. There's so much information in here. Get out, go to all of these events, see everything, see where your work is positioned within this community, and then you can start making connections. This also goes for pricing your work, you know, and another thing is, if you're looking for an extra boost, is join one of our groups. We have our critique group, which is the second Tuesday of every month. We have a painting group, which is now meeting at the NHAA on the third Sunday of every month. We have the Plein Air meetup group. It's a little too cold for that this time of year. And we're going to be kickstarting the photo group soon. We've had someone step up who's going to become the new leader. So we're going to be publishing information about that. So these are great ways to, like, you know, talk to other artists, hone your craft, be able to, you know, if you're looking for buddies to share some of your artist statement or bounce your proposal off of, you know, this is why you're members, right? To be part of this community. And, you know, you don't have to do it alone, and you don't always have to have all the answers. So I hope that helps. And yeah, you can always email me any questions that you have after this presentation tonight. And just keep in mind that December 16th deadline. I'll be able to get to your questions in a more timely manner if you give me more time to answer them. All right, well, it seems like that is it. So thank you all for coming. And I look forward to seeing your proposals.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amanda. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Everybody.
Take care.
Thanks, Amanda.
you.
Nice job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.